Welcome to NEXTGames Odyssey series. This video covering the Sheol Gaol Arebati. Now in this video we'll go over the Aurabody battle strategy, and then I'll show you a battle example of the fight against Aurabody. We'll do all of this on the ninja job with no sub-job. Now Aurabody is an enemy from the FFXI family that has access to all of the same attacks as the Delve NM Atux. Now he is weak to piercing damage and fire damage, and this is going to play a crucial role in the fight, so make sure you have brought some ways to deal good amounts of damage with one or both of those methods. Now on the second NM that I will be showcasing from Atonement 3, we will be using much of the same strategy that we used against Zivioso that I brought you last week. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and talk about the abilities and spells that you're going to be encountering during this fight. Please note that all of these abilities will strip your shadows, so you can't rely on them for this fight. You must ride Megawari's recast for the entire fight as if they were your shadows. Now Aurabody will often instacast Blizzaga 4 for 400 to 900 AoE damage, and that is until about 50% hit points, when he's going to switch to Blizzaga 5, which will frankly do about that same amount of damage. But he'll also use Blizzard 6, which will do about 1000 damage to RKV who's tanking, and he also has access to Bindga for the length of this fight, so keep these in mind. In regards to abilities, we have Brain Freeze, which is a conal amnesia ability used on the tank and anyone in front. Biting Abrogation, which is an AoE damage ability for 100 to 800 damage. Paralyze, and most importantly, it dispels 4 of your buffs. Glacial Tomb is an AoE damage ability for 100 to 2000 damage. Bind and Encumbrance. Permafrost Requiem is an AoE damage ability for 100 to 2000 damage once again, and it will inflict Terrorize that lasts 10 to 15 seconds. The next ability is Polar Roar. This is the most important ability in this fight. First, it will do AoE damage for 100 to 2000 damage, will also bind you and knock you back. This is also going to trigger Red Proc mode. The next time you do piercing or fire damage, you're going to trigger a Red Stagger, and a Fetter may possibly spawn that will have an aura with DOT and a negative status effect on it. You must immediately do a large amount of piercing or fire damage when you see this Red Stagger. This will trigger a Blue Stagger and bring the NM out of this mode. It's presumed, if left in this mode, the NM also gains access to Glassy Nova, which is full dispel, all stats down, and massive AoE damage. Now in my battle example, this move is used at 75% and 13% hit points, but it really can be used anytime during this fight. Now if you look over those abilities, 3 of them are very nasty, but surprisingly, they did very little damage to my trust, usually in the 50 to 400 damage range, and it was only myself that was taking damage at the higher end of the range consistently. I really am wondering if all that work I put into my MM level over the last year has helped, as I will disclose that I do have MM level number 28, so that may be playing a role into how well my trusts are handling these NMs. Now in regards to a strategy on this one, the number one rule is to keep Megawari up at all times. It's more important than shadows on this one. If you can keep Megawari up, this is actually a pretty easy fight, as your trusts are really in no real danger on this one as long as they have high enough MM level. You are the only one really here at risk. I failed to keep Megawari up in my first attempt on this run, and sadly was one-shotted at 95%. Now, you need to make sure that you have a way to do good amounts of piercing damage during this run. I choose to use Tourette, Turnian +1 combination, and to spam a very critical hit plus heavy evisceration build. Now make sure that you have plenty of accuracy. I recommend 1350 plus on this one, and none of Ninjas and Feebles are going to land, so don't really even bother trying those. Make sure you keep Inin and Yain up to lower your enmity and ensure that you don't take hate. If you see a Polar Roar go off, charge back in there. Let a crit round go off, it's usually the first round of attacks, and then fire off an evisceration. I'd recommend staying to his rear or sides when meleeing. In fact, I recommend that for all of these Atonement 3 NMs. Now let's talk about trust selection on this one. I'm using RKV to tank. Note, if RKV were to fall, I'm going to summon August and then Amchu to back her up. Using Arcelia for haste, AoE cure, because she has such high hit points. If she were to die, we would summon Koru and then King of Hearts. We're using Sethtus for AoE cure and in place of a Bard. We're also using Sethtus to continually restore HP and MP to the party since we're using Kupipi instead of Yoran Oran. Now if Sethtus is to die, we are going to summon Omia or Joachim. The last two spots are filled with Monboro and Kupipi for cures. Now if either of these two die, we summon Cherukiki, or if you have access to Yignis, Yignis should probably do a much better job than Kupipi. Sadly, I'm not quite there yet. That should be all you need to know to take this one on. Let's go ahead and see what a battle example looks like. Enjoy the run, everyone.
you
And that will be it for the video for how to take on Aurabody. I hope you found that helpful. Thankfully, that one only took me 2 attempts, so I'm definitely getting better at handling these Atonement 3 NMs. In the next video in the series, we'll be taking on Embus, followed by Kalunga. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Stay safe and stay healthy out there.